We'll talk about that.
It's quite poor. Hello everybody, my name's Ian.
Hi, I'm Jason.
This is Jason, and we you can introduce yourself. We're the Sinners Review podcast. If you've not seen us before, everything's linked down below, and we're trying to do them weekly, and so far we've only failed once to do that. But we pick a main topic, and we talk around it with other things as well. This week we picked 5 each, so the best 10 album covers. Now, I think before we get onto that, I think there needs to be some rules, Jason, because I think it needs to be a good album or a great album, not just a great cover.
Well, that was my thinking. There were albums that I'm familiar with that mean something to me. So there's a lot of good albums out there, but I've not listened to them or aren't aware of them. You know, as I've been looking through iconic covers, I'm like, people like Yes and Rush, and all those kind of prog rock bands from that era, they all had great covers.
They were never my thing.
Nothing I could talk about. Yeah. So, but I've gone back to the archives. I'm going to show my age.
Actually, I'm almost everything is vinyl. In fact, everything is vinyl apart from the new stuff I've bought. So,
well, I think you hit a good topic there about vinyl, because the whole thing of picking up a vinyl, a 12-inch, often gatefold, it was a thing. And actually, as I was researching this, there's a change in the prominence of covers as pieces of art. Obviously, it came to CDs and shrank. And now, do you even look at a cover of an album when you listen to it on streaming? I mean, the image is there. Does it stick? Does it really resonate? I don't think it does.
No, I completely agree with you. And actually, because we've got any other business, because while I was doing my research, we were in the last episode, we were talking about festivals that we went to. And it suddenly dawned on me that I had completely missed a festival. So in 1980, I went to here's the album that I bought after the festival. This is the Photos first album.
Okay. Looks very Blondie-esque.
Yeah, well, they were a bit like that. So, a big fan of Blondie. In fact, Blondie will come up again in a bit. So, the Photos played the York Festival in 1980. There was a fourth band on, I can't remember who they were, but the other three bands, they were all sort of new wave. There was Any Trouble, whose album I went out and bought the next day on the Monday morning. There was Holly and the Italians, whose album I didn't go and buy. And then the third album, and this is my original copy from 1980 of the Photos. And lo and behold, not only do you get one album, you get the album, but you get a second album, which is their basement tapes. And really? I mean, it's a good album. I have since bought it on CD as well, so I don't play the vinyl very often, but it's still in pretty good condition. So there's the any other business. I completely missed a festival. So the stuff although we're recording this on Wednesday because you're going to be on Glastonbury on Sunday, so we'll have to find out what you think of Glastonbury in the next podcast. Yeah. Yep. So we're recording this on Wednesday, so when we were talking on Monday. But I did a lot yesterday, so I went to the cinema.
Oh, there we go. So first time we're doing this not in the same room,
not
which
in
is
the same place. Yeah,
seems okay. Hopefully the tech holds up.
Exactly. Yeah. So I went to the pictures. I went to see 28.
Went to the pictures. That's an old-fashioned term.
I know. Yeah.
Went to the pictures.
Went to movies. So,
you still have change for a shilling.
I tell you, it's cheap in Frome. Have you been to the cinema in Frome?
It is. I haven't been to that one, but the rest of the fam go.
£4 to get to.
Nice. You do get change from a fiver.
You do get change from a fiver, yeah. So I went to see 28 years later.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know whether I should say what I thought of it really. Because
I wouldn't do a spoiler on it.
No, I won't.
No.
I would say go and see it.
Okay. Any good music?
No, the music was
obviously didn't.
It was very. I mean, it's Danny Boyle, whose stuff I like, and obviously it's Alex Garland, whose stuff I really like because I like him as a writer.
So they've often had iconic tunes to their films.
The music was very much like the music in the first 28 Weeks Later.
Okay. Days later.
I think it's almost the same. Yeah. Some of it was almost the same score at times.
Okay. Maybe it's the same dude. We'll look it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to say that he gets really, really good reviews. But
what's your out of 5 for the film? Go on. Give us that as a taster.
It's a 3.
Okay.
I was slightly disappointed. I mean, it's well filmed and all the usual sort of stuff you'd expect. I just thought some of the story was a little bit slightly unbelievable. I know we're talking about zombies or an infection, so
well, there's a future theme. Are sequels any good?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and the other thing about this is the first part of a trilogy. So obviously,
it's a prequel.
They did the first. No, they did the first film. The second film was somebody else, so they've dismissed that completely almost. And then we're 28 years later, and
of course, of course, so, of course, it's at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's more to come.
Any cinnamon buns at the cinema? And cinnamon buns?
Not at the cinema, but I had half an hour before the film, so I went shopping. So I went to M&S and I bought two cinnamon. I went to M&S.
He's so middle class,
isn't it? Just but it's the only place you can get a decent cinnamon bun. So I bought 2. One of them I ate on my walk home, and the other one I saved for tea. The other thing I did, I popped into some charity shops, bought some records. So I bought, you might not know them actually, folk band, First Aid Kit. They're one of their early albums.
They're a fairly, they're out at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, this is one of their early albums, but so far so good. I've only listened to it once, to be fair, because I only got it yesterday. This I think is absolutely brilliant. Nitin Sawhney. And
I've got some of his stuff. Yeah.
It was his 3rd album, and it is absolutely stunning. I've listened to it all day, pretty much, really. When I've been looking.
It's very unique. I've got a lot of his stuff. Interesting rhythms. Yeah, it's good. Nice.
And then I bought some vinyl. So an authentic sound effects album, which has got things like car stops, engine idle, shut off, or horse race.
An everyday need.
Exactly, yeah. Door opens and closes quickly.
Oh.
I have started collecting stuff like that. I know that you can get lots of samples online, but the other thing I bought, and actually this is a bit of a cash in. I thought it was something else. It wasn't expensive. It was only £2. Clockwork Orange, but it's not the soundtrack, and I have the soundtrack.
I was going to say it's not the cover. So is it somebody else's interpretation?
But
that's an iconic cover. That's an iconic film poster for sure.
The original one with
a triangle with the one eye.
Exactly. Thing. Yeah. It was £2. It sounds good though.
Yeah.
And the last one. This is quite an interesting cover. So this is Variations by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Okay, which has obviously got the soundtrack, the theme music from South Bank Show on it. With Julian playing it. Band's really quite good. We've got Rod Argent playing keyboards. Don Airy. Now, Don Airy, didn't he play in Squeeze or something like that? Some big band. Anyway.
I know.
Gary Moore of Thin Lizzy playing guitar. And then obviously there's other people as well. But the interesting thing about the cover is, so they've made it sort of modern for 70... It's 71? No, it's 1978. And then on the back, you've got the original cover, the original picture. But inside, and this is where the artwork starts to become a thing, we've got a whole tree of a musical tree and all the pictures of the band. And I don't think, I know you get a bit of that in CDs, but you don't get any of that stuff on streaming. It's a good album, and it's still in good condition as well. £2, £3. I lied to you, £3. So that was that's my week, but that was yesterday. So yes, Cinema Buzz we've done.
Nice.
So have you done much since yesterday? You've been at work, I know. Yeah,
I didn't even bother changing my shirt.
No, you've been at work.
Getting changed.
You're now in a hotel room, and we're here. Yeah, right.
And tomorrow I'll be at work. Yeah, so that's fun. That's fun.
So the start of this conversation came out of us talking about the Sabrina Carpenter album cover, which I'd on my
phone. It caused a bit of furore, didn't it?
It has apparently, yeah. Now I will put an image of it up so that people can see it, but it's her on her hands and knees with some man that you don't see pulling her hair. And there was the article I thought was interesting. I just think it was interesting because I did a little bit more research. I read the article and I thought, well, actually, I've never really looked at one of her videos. So I looked at the video for her latest song, which was as part of the Guardian article, and I'll stick the Guardian article link down below. And I was more worried by the way that she looked, because she's a young woman. She's 20, is she 25, 26, something like that? Maybe 20. Yeah. So she's mid-20s. Clearly an incredibly pretty girl or lady.
So you've been in the industry since she was a teenager.
Yes, so she was first signed to Disney.
Came through 12,
Disney. 12
that's right.
Was her first record deal. And I thought, well, she's obviously had facial work. So I did a little bit of research in that, and so there's a plastic surgeon in New York believes that Sabrina might have begun changing her appearance with surgery or treatments around the time she was 20. So 5, 6, 7 years ago.
That's unusual.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and not typical, but.
And the question is that she doesn't need to do that. She's pretty. I think, and they
it's not for us.
It's not for us. But I do have a bit of an issue with the way that things like these lip fillers, the way that lips are now looking. And I mean, this plastic surgeon reckons that her lip fillers cost about £10,000 by what he says he's not worked on her, but looking at the pictures of her when she was 19, 20, and how she is now, he reckons that she could have probably spent up to $40,000 on different beauty procedures, not products. And I just think, I mean, I do have an issue with this sort of thing. It's almost like the Kardashian thing, isn't it? The way that the Kardashians look with their sort of larger buttocks and all of this sort of business.
I don't know, is it that generation that's living their entire life online? Possibly.
But
I dread to think, can you imagine if your teenage years were online? Every single hour of every day. I mean, my God.
I think somebody needed to say to it, you don't need to have the work done because you look pretty. You're a beautiful woman already.
Yeah, I mean, don't know enough about her background. When I knew we were going to open with this, I looked a bit. So she was, she's got brothers and sisters. I think she was homeschooled, which is interesting. Yeah, and then obviously came through. Sorry, just putting my on charge. Came through Disney.
Yeah,
she's signed to Island Records. Actually, now she's on Island,
which is a subsidiary of Universal.
Isn't everybody?
It's either Universal or Sony, isn't it? There's only 3 of them. Yeah.
She does co-write her own songs, so you've got to think she's got an element. You've got to, if she moved to Ireland in 2021, I think it was.
Oh, is it?
So she was in her 20s then. She was already, credible, famous.
Yeah.
You would have think she had the ability to control her artistic output. So, I don't think the cover's under coercion.
I don't think it is.
Or is it? Or is it?
Well, it's possible.
You might find out. Look what happened to Britney Spears. We might find out in 10, 15 years' time that
there is.
But I think it's a play on something. I think it's got a retro vibe to it, hasn't it?
It made me think of Madonna. That Madonna manipulated right the way through her career, from those really early, where she was almost like Marilyn Monroe look-alike, to Now, I really liked and rated. The thing I liked about Madonna was not every album is the same. I didn't like every album, but I liked enough of her stuff, you know. And she was. I always thought she was very good at manipulating the media, and it is part of the thing about sex sells. And I wonder if Sabrina's doing the same sort of thing with that. You know,
I think all of her covers was putting her up front as a, trading on her looks. In fairness, it is a thing. You see her shows and videos and stuff. It's she's scantily clad and all of that. So So I don't know, but it's generated publicity. Is that the reason they've done it? Yes,
I suspect that is the reason they've done it, because people are talking about it.
Yeah.
You know.
So we talked about that.
Yeah.
And that led us to think about iconic
album covers.
Right?
Yeah. No, I don't think there's been a Carpenter. Well, it might be an iconic cover in 10 years' time when people look back on it in retrospect.
Might be.
So there's a couple of covers that I've brought that are not part of my 5. So
okay.
I thought, let's get them out of the way.
Some bubbling unders.
Yeah, because it was quite difficult. I mean, honestly, I've got albums everywhere. So first of all, I think we talked about this because I think you asked me, first album I ever bought. That's the first album I ever bought with my own money. So Johnny Cash at San Quentin.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll listen to that.
And I don't.
Because they're all cheering him on, aren't they, when he does?
Yeah,
what's the one where boy named Sue or something?
Yes,
that's on there, isn't it?
Because the story is that he'd just written it the day before, because he announced. Because I now have the CD extended version. I'm not a massive Johnny Cash fan, but I have seen him live, which I'll tell you about. Certainly at one point in the record, because they cut loads out because it's a real double album, you know. And he says, "Oh, I've just written this song. Do you mind if I play it for you, lads?" You know, and it's A Boy Named Sue, which obviously became a big hit. And
how do you do?
I don't quite know why I bought. I mean, I was pretty young when I bought it, but you know, I think it was out of my paper round, so I must have been about 11 or 12. You would have thought I'd have bought something a little bit more popular, but anyway,
maybe it was edgy. I think it was edgy at the time, wasn't it?
And actually, it's a good record. The songs are good. I saw him at Harrogate Conference Centre. Oh, probably must have been 20 years ago, right? And this was when Johnny, before he got together and did the American, is it the American trilogy albums that he did with Rick Rubin? It's before that, so he was almost his own tribute act at that time. You know, I
liked that one where he did covers. He did like Personal Jesus.
And exactly. And Hurt was incredible, really.
Of course,
better than the original, I would say. But you know, and the show was pretty naff, if I'm honest. His wife and her sisters came on. His son, along with Roy Orbison's son, did a spot, and they weren't great. Same backing band all the way through. His band looked like they were really bored. And at half-time, so John hasn't appeared, so at half-time we go across to the pub opposite. And shall we even go back, because the show's been pretty poor up until now? And we all went, well, we've come here to see Johnny, let's go. And he was great. He was really, really good. But the rest of it wasn't, you know. So I'm really glad that I stayed, and I'm really glad that I saw him, you know. The other album is the first album that I ever played on, which is the Nerve Center album. Nice. So I thought we need to have that, because that's pretty, you know.
You on there then? Moving into the camera. Where are you?
My picture isn't on there. What he actually says is, because I had joined the band, but I never got my picture. I never got my picture on the album. I'm additional keyboards by Ian Cole, right. But I was with him about 9 months. But anyway, that's what else did I bring? I brought that was rather a controversial cover, which is Cooke by Debbie Harry, purely and simply because it's obviously got spikes through her face. Remember that being a bit of a problem.
Was that her first solo?
First solo album. It's not a great album. It's okay, but I remember the fuss was made about that.
The cover dates you to the time. You can almost pinpoint the year just from the cover.
Yeah,
which makes it a good piece of art.
Definitely. Have you ever seen this one?
Are these your
No,
these
are just these. These didn't make the cut. So this is Rod Stewart, who is obviously
Glasgow.
You're going to see him, or maybe not, next Sunday.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, still got the same hair.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he? No, the good thing about this is it's a greatest hits album, so it's good songs.
Right.
But actually, when you pull the inside cover out, the whiskey glass is empty.
Oh.
And I've gone down that theme of albums that are actually there's something a bit. I can get it back in. Oh, there's all these pictures on the back. There's a gatefold back. It's a gatefold back thing as well. Which, and they're all pictures of Rod. No pictures of the band. Just Mr. Stewart himself.
Any leopard skin?
No.
No. Must be pre those days.
It's pre those days. Yeah, he's got a sort of sparkly top on there.
Nice.
But, I mean, it's not a bad album actually because it's just a greatest hits type thing, and it's all his early stuff, long before Sailing. So Sailing and all that Do You Think I'm Sexy? And not on it. It's all things like Mandolin Wind and Reason to Believe and You Wear It Well and Maggie May, stuff like that. Right. It's all the really good early 70s stuff. And last but not least, this almost made the cut.
Enduring.
New Boot and Panties. I think it's a great cover.
Nice.
And it's a great album.
No, that's definitely iconic. Yeah. So I've seen his boy Baxter Jury a couple of times.
Yeah.
And really good.
I've never heard this stuff.
Oh, the new album's brilliant. Electronic, kind of a bit of industrial edge. It's good.
Yeah.
It's nice. Alberoni, I think it's called.
All right. So do you want to take it in turns now? We're actually going to do.
We probably should. Yeah. So that was a nice warm up. That was good. That was a nice warm up. We're going to have to watch the time for the call.
Yeah, no, we'll have to break.
The call will give us a 5-minute warning, so it'll naturally end the part one. So I wouldn't say these are top 5 ever, but they I filtered them down to 5 favourites. I'll maybe start going chronological order. I'll maybe end with what I think is the most iconic one.
Okay.
That I would say. I'm going to just try something here. Am I back?
You're back.
All right. What's going on here? There we go. Right. I'm just going to try something because I'm going to put it behind me. So this would be my first one. Just got to do a bit of button pressing to do this. I'm sorry. So I'm going with this one. You can see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm going with that one is because it is a bit of a bizarre cover. So I didn't own it. I mean, it's out from 1977. So I don't think I wasn't musically aware in 1977. It was Silver Jubilee, and wasn't it the hottest summer or whatever? I don't know.
Yes.
Silver Jubilee. I remember dressing up probably as a shepherd or something with a tea towel on my head.
I'm slightly older than you, and I think in 77 I was. Anyway, I don't know how old I was.
You were record buying age.
I was definitely record buying. I didn't buy this.
I'm going to move out of the way so we can see.
It's
1977.
It's an odd cover, especially with these sort of weird gonads hanging down.
Well, I can tell you about them. So they are apparently he was backstage at a gig and he came out of the toilet. Those balls are from a toilet chain, bizarrely. The old-fashioned toilet chains.
Yeah.
When the system was at the top, but apparently it was that. And he kind of kept them, and he had that as the idea. So I guess what's odd about it, there's only 2 of the members on the record cover for a start. He's got those balls dangling down between his legs.
Yeah.
So it's an iconic picture because of that. The photographer was Herbert Worthington. I couldn't find that he'd done any other famous. He wasn't famous for anything else. But the reason I chose it is an interesting cover, but it made me realise their phenomenal output. This was their 11th album.
Yeah.
It was their most successful album. So it was 11 out of 18 albums, right? So they did 18 studio albums, 10 live albums, and 62 singles. It's like amazing output.
Because the early band was, apart from Mick and the bass player, it was a completely different band because it was Peter Green's, who were a straightforward, decent blues band, and then they obviously Peter Green. I think he had mental health problems, didn't he? Or something happened, and then they reinvented themselves with Lindsay Buckingham and what's her face.
Stevie Nicks. Yep. That's who's on the cover. Stevie Nicks with Mick Fleetwood. I chose that.
Sorry, go on.
Go on.
I was just going to say we've got that album, but I never bought it. Jane, it's in Jane's collection. But I think most households, when I would go to a friend's house and look through the record collection, that album would definitely be there.
And that's why I chose it.
Yeah,
it sold 6 million at the time, and still selling.
Still selling, yeah.
The songs on it, "Go Your Own Way," "Dreams," "Don't Stop," amongst others. Right, they're still played today. A day won't go by where you don't hear one of those songs. Right. Multi-generation, every generation listens to them. The songs still sound fresh and relevant today, don't they?
They're great, and it's all, as they say, it's all killer, no filler, because there's not a bad track on it.
Yeah, so I picked it less for the cover. It is an iconic cover because of the which way have I got to go? That way, because of the toilet chain dangling between his legs. But it is a quality album still to this day.
It is. Absolutely.
How many years on? 48 years on. Is that right? Nearly 50 years on. Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my
first one.
That's my first entry.
Right.
Number 5.
Okay, I'm gonna. I don't know which order to do these in. Right. Let's go with let's go with this. So this is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Wasn't my album. It was my father's album. My father didn't have many records, but he had this one. And obviously the main thing about this is all the pictures, because I spent hours looking, not knowing who half of these people were growing up. 1966, and I do remember because when it came out, I was round at. I think I was dropped off at somebody's house, and the babysitter had just bought it, and she was showing it to me. So I would have been about what? I was 8 or 9, right? And I thought I'd ripped it when I did that and opened it. I went, oh, and obviously you've got picture of them inside.
Very good. All sporting, lovely moustaches.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Nice.
The other thing is, and the amount of times that I've wanted to cut these up, but you got what's called the pepper cutouts. And there was loads of times growing up that I almost cut them up, and I'm really glad I didn't.
Yours is an original.
It's an original
release?
Mono. Because the stereo version was, I think it took them a week to mix this, and it took them a day to mix. Don't quote me on that, but it didn't take them very long to mix the stereo. And if you listen to the stereo version, all the instruments are one side or the other.
Yes.
So this is an original mono copy. It was my dad's. There's a scratch on the first track on side 2. It doesn't get played very often now. We're running out of time, so we're going to have to.
We can leave the teasers for part 2 of the 2.
We can. Yeah, for the next one.
Okay.
So, it's brilliant. I absolutely love it. In fact, I did record it with a mono stylus a few years back, so I have got a digital copy of it.
Very nice. Now, I did look at that and recognise its importance, both as a record and as a cover, but it didn't really leave any impression on me, just because the Beatles kind of passed me by a little bit. I feel embarrassed saying that.
No, I mean the other thing about the cover is I think Peter, what's his name? I've forgotten his surname. Peter Blake. Peter Blake was apparently only given 300 quid to do the cover.
Wow.
And
your record's probably worth that much now.
Oh, it's worth
an original mono.
It's original mono. I've already said to my kids that I'm never going to sell it because it was my dad's. They're going to get it, and I said, "Boys, you can."
One can have the A side, and the other one have the B side.
They've already said, "Look, we're not going to sell it. We're going to keep it between them."
Yeah, Yeah, nice.
So it's not. It has become a family heirloom.
Nice.
We should.
Good.
So let's wind up this very strong start. Absolutely.
Can't wait to see what's next.
2 classic albums. I'm feeling slightly. I think one of mine is a bit of a dodgy choice now.
I've got a curveball as well.
Yeah. Right, so we'll end part 1 there. We'll be back shortly for part 2. See you soon. Bye.
Nice one. See ya.